Hi everyone, welcome to the first article in our series on book marketing. Over the past 4 to 5 months, we've interviewed hundreds of authors to understand which activities are working best, which activities to avoid, and then to bring all of these surveys together in a series of articles that will make your job much easier. First thing I want to do is say thank you to all the people who took their time to respond to our survey. We received some very well thought out emails, and I hope I'm able to reflect many of your answers in these articles. Two of the key takeaways from the author's answers were the first one is that word of mouth is the best type of marketing out there. And I think most of us would agree with that. However, in order to get word of mouth, your book needs to be out there. Your book needs to be read, needs to be reviewed, which really comes back to marketing. So the second key takeaway, which I thought was most interesting, is that most survey respondents didn't have any marketing plan in place or perform any pre-release marketing whatsoever prior to their book's launch. As a result, most of the authors who wrote in believed that their lack of success was directly related to a lack of planning. I want to read a quote by an author who wrote in. And I think this quote reflects the sentiment of most of the authors who answered our survey. The quote is by Francine Carroll, the author of Shadows of Yesterday, and she says, quote, "I didn't do any marketing for my first book, Shadows of Yesterday, and I don't think it's a coincidence that this is my worst performing book. I was very naive and didn't realize how much work is involved in promoting your own books." Now, Francine was definitely not alone. Response after response lamented this lack of a solid marketing plan before launching. For most new authors, I think it's easy to develop tunnel vision and focus solely on creating the best possible product. And while that's very important, it's only a part of the equation. The other part of the equation is marketing. And if you're like me and most other self-published authors, you have this burning desire to get your new book out the digital doors and start, quote, raking in the cash. However, without a solid sales strategy, it's less likely that you're going to hit this literary jackpot. And I think it's also important to really have the right expectations as to what the literary jackpot is, especially if it's your first book. Consider that the average book only sells somewhere between 500 and 1,000 copies in its lifetime. So just keep that in mind as you're setting your marketing plan and your expectations. In reality, I think a good quality marketing plan is going to take you twice as long to both create and execute, twice as long as it does to actually write and edit your book. So, with some guidance from these articles, which are really just input from your fellow authors, as well as a change in mindset, I think that creating a marketing plan can and should be as much fun as the writing process, mainly because you're using many of the same skills. I think that what I'd like to do is read you a quote from another author. I think this really highlights the change in mindset that's necessary to try to build some quality momentum with your title. And this quote is from Karen Smith, who's the author of Dark Dealings. And what Karen says is, quote, "Marketing begins the first time you tell someone you're a writer. There's a subtle difference between, quote, 'I'm writing a book,' which is an action, and, quote, 'I'm a writer,' which is a vocation. While it may sound subtle, this difference is profound. As a writer, you discuss your work with confidence because it's what you do, not what you're aspiring to do. And if you take yourself seriously enough, so will your prospective readers, which will make your job of selling your books that much easier." In today's world, writers are entrepreneurs. For some of us, this may seem like an exciting proposition, but for others, it's a frightening prospect. And nonetheless, most of us aspire to the same thing. Most of us want to develop a loyal following that will devour our books, allowing us to command our own destiny. However, without a solid business plan or marketing plan and a good 6 to 12 months of cultivating this audience, it's not logical to expect that your book will become an overnight success. I think if you step back and just see the numbers for what they are, consider this, that in the last 30 days, today is November 30th, 2012, in the last 30 days, 87,000 new books were added to Amazon. Now, when I had checked this number 6 months ago, it stood around 30,000. So it's not that there's just a lot of competition. There's a lot of competition, and it's growing. However, from our survey, we know that the competition isn't spending any time creating a marketing plan. So there's not necessarily that much reason to fret just yet. I'd like to switch gears for a minute and talk about what a good marketing plan should do for you. A good marketing plan will do 4 things. First, it'll help you identify your target audience. Next, it'll help you build a platform to cultivate a relationship with this audience. Third, it'll provide a schedule of events and milestones leading up to your book's launch, as well as beyond it. And then lastly, it'll help you monitor and measure the success of each activity. Your marketing plan should focus on developing both short-tail and long-tail sales. Short-tail sales events give your book an initial burst of sales right out of the gate, and then they fade as quickly as they started. These type of sales are crucial when launching your book as a way to gain momentum on Amazon. Authors typically try to get all of their friends and their audience to purchase books on the same day. And that will wind up boosting your rank in Amazon and then giving you additional exposure because now your book is ranked higher. Long-tail sales, though, provide a steady base of sales that come from having a deep online presence and the word of mouth that follows. So these two, short-tail and long-tail sale platforms work synergistically. A few key book launch opportunities that are often missed by newly self-published authors include book reviews and book launch parties. Now you might be thinking to yourself, how is that even possible? But what most new authors don't realize is that many reviewers will only accept pre-release or advanced copies of books. These are often referred to as galley copies or review copies. So if you're impatient, like I was, and you wind up releasing your book without sending out any review copies, you've just cut off one of the legs that I think every marketing plan should have. And to back that up, there are actually a number of authors who put that in their comments to us in their survey forms. Similarly, some bookstores will only host book launch parties for self-published authors if their books are less than 90 days old. Now, I've actually had that happen to me. And I've received comments on forums from people who say that that's not true, but I'm living proof of it. My own bookstore down the street refused to do it. I asked them, what was their logic? And they said that, the main reason was that anyone who would have bought my book already had done so. So, they basically focus on friends and family to show up to the book launch event to then buy the book. So keep that in mind, because book launches are a great opportunity for more than just generating a few sales. First off, they're a great opportunity to contact your local newspaper. So it's a press-worthy event. And in contacting your paper to tell them about your book launch party, you can also try to get a review out of them. In addition, it gives you an opportunity to send out some press releases, which is something that we'll get into more detail about in another article within this series. Most importantly, I think, though, is that a book launch party is just a great opportunity to celebrate this momentous accomplishment. How many people actually write a book? And I think if you create an event that is fun, and it shows through in the pictures, that's actually going to give you another opportunity. Before you arrive at your event, make sure that you've designated someone, someone who's a friend or family member, to be the designated cameraman for the night. And then when the event's over, take the photos and post them to social media. Facebook is a perfect example of this. And then what you're going to do is, to engage your audience, take the thumbnail of your book, shrink it down a little bit, and use it as a watermark over the picture. Put it in the lower right corner, let's say, for example. And then tag each person in the photos. So once you tag these people, all of their friends and family now see the pictures from the event, and what's in the corner of the picture? Your book cover. So now your brand is now born, essentially. So keep in mind that most people need to see an advertisement 7 times before they make a purchase. So this is a great way to get your brand out in front of a number of people, and then they will be able to talk to your friends and family who've actually read your book, which then helps generate that word of mouth. So now there's 2 contacts. Ask them to like your fan page. There's the 3rd contact. And it just becomes this recurring stream of contact, and then eventually people will start making purchases. So hopefully now you're starting to see why it's important to create a marketing plan, because there are so many avenues to follow. You have book reviews, blog tours, press releases, book clubs, radio, TV, magazine, newspaper interviews, book-related events, conventions. One that I've liked a lot is crafts fairs. Obviously, build a website, create a book trailer. You need to then build links to your website. There's guest blogging, social media, Goodreads, and all the other dozens of websites out there. Do you pay for advertising or not? And so on. There are just so many different avenues to pursue. But if you create a plan, it'll help you from going broke and, more importantly, going crazy. So best of luck with your books, and stay tuned for the next article in this series. Your comments are more than appreciated below. So thank you very much. Bye-bye.